You gotta make sure it's an app.
All right, we're in there. Hold on. Hey, everybody, come on in, come on in, come on in. Y'all back up a little bit. Just a little bit. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Come on in. Come on in. This is the day that the wrong program. But anyway, it's good to see everybody tonight. I can't see you, but I see you in my soul. So I'm grateful for you being here tonight. And come on in. I want you to like and share. We won't be long this evening, but I want to keep our regularly scheduled program. And we know it's going to be a delectable program for you. Very nutritious. All right. And this is God is Justice, the conversation. Hold on. We got to adjust it. Our heads are cool. We got to adjust this. Our heads are cool.
We know that having a cut off head is no
thing. Listen. To be cut off from the body of Christ. Listen, y'all can't. I know they're telling me that they can't see the top of my head. I know.
Hold on, saints and friends.
Hold on, y'all. I don't know why. What's wrong? We got this.
We got to come a little higher.
We got this real expensive camera crew.
That ain't no better. Hold on. Hold on.
So, yeah. Up there it is.
It's almost. But you know, Brenda said almost doesn't count.
All right, I'm gonna give it 5 seconds.
I'm trying. Hold on. That's still back up, Saints.
All right, we're gonna switch this around real quick. You got the same idea I had. Nope. We take it. All right. Here we go.
Yes.
We're gonna be low. Sorry, y'all. We're gonna be low. Our God is so low and high at the same time. All right. Now you can see us down at the program. We're a little low, but you can look at us. All right. All right. So, hi. This is God. God is Just the Conversation, and I'm
Kelly.
Yes, I'm Cameron. Hello. And I'm yours truly, Byron. And for the last 2 months, we've been talking about social justice, God, our faith, and just all of the different things that have been affecting us in our world. And we are inviting you to come and share it with us. All right. So like this, share this with somebody, post, give us a little shout out in the comments. Hey, Eric. Hey, Leah. Hey, some other people that are watching. Thank you. Shout out your names. Say hi. Yes, wave. Talk to us. All right. So we have been talking about this. If you didn't know, we released a new single written by Cameron, myself, and another young man, Dr. Ben Wansley of the Wansley House of Prayer. Mm-hmm. And we released a new song called God is Justice. And we just didn't want to release a song. You know what I mean? We don't want to just write songs to be writing songs. We want to write music that really invokes change. We don't want to sing gospel, we want to do gospel. We don't want to just sing soul, we want to do soul. So we've been talking about God being justice. And so we want to start this off. We're being a little bit more formatted now. We wanted to talk about some different things we saw over the last week since we gathered last. Something that stuck out to me in the media. I think you all are like mine. And it's going to be really good. Ladies first, the beloved.
Well, it's not so much something that has been very popular in the media, but because the three of us are all HBCU alumni,
yes.
We've all seen conversations that we've had, and just memory spark yesterday is about the letter that came out from the presidents of Dillard University and Xavier University in Louisiana. and they're advocating for their students to participate as volunteers for the study for the potential vaccination of COVID-19. And I think that that's a very interesting move for those institutions to make, especially with Black students, considering the history that Black people and Black bodies have in the United States and actually throughout the world.
Yep.
With being tested and research done on them illegally without permission. For example, in the United States, of course, the Tuskegee experiment, but also Henrietta Lacks having her, just her genetic material taken, and so many of the cures and medications we have today was taken from her without her knowledge or permission. And then
they let her die.
They let her die. But they've made so many strides as far as cancer research and even various different other aspects of the medical field doing that. And I just don't think I would advocate or would encourage students that I work with, students that I come into contact with, my own son, if he were a student, I'd be like, yeah, no. I understand we need access to treatments once they're available, but let's make sure that we're not the first to be usurped, our authority usurped and drafted into being the lab rats without full knowledge of what's taking place. Let us actually have the option of knowing completely and totally what's going to happen with the study and making good choices. And why are we targeting, our 18 to 25-year-olds?
Our next generation, absolutely.
I think one of the key things, when I think about the Tuskegee experiment of how under the radar it actually was, to the point where we're 20, 40, 50 years later, and people are like, oh, that happened. And it's like, yeah, people lost their lives because of a college experiment.
And it was under false pretenses.
Yeah, and it was lied to. And also I think about the kids who are away from home who may have pre-existing medical conditions. And that is the worst time to ever want to try something while you're away at another university with your family not being there, nobody having even medical consent to be able to help you. I don't care how much money it's worth. Me personally, I would not do it.
Absolutely, I totally concur with both of you. And to even add to that conversation, I think it's even funnier on the heels of the story that was underplayed about the Latinos, Latina ladies that they have been giving hysterectomies to in these camps. The people that have been caught by ISIS and put in these camps that are supposed to be sent back to where they're from, but they're holding them still. And many of these women, they've done these eugenic kind of surgeries and hysterectomies on these women. And these women have attested to they remember being put under the knife and they weren't told what was happening to them. And so, even though we are being told that this is research for the coronavirus vaccine, it doesn't change the fact that the idea and the notion that our children are expendable is problematic. And the fact is, you've gone to these two HBCU universities and offered them this great sum of money to request that they've asked their students to do this, but you haven't come to a Vanderbilt, you haven't gone to a Harvard, at all. You haven't gone to any of these other institutions, and because their demographic of youth are catching coronavirus at high rates as well.
Exactly.
So my thing is, if you're going to target this age demographic and their motive is they're healthier, then target the white schools as well.
Or even
the whole demographic.
Or with the people with the good insurance plan.
There you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that now, Cameron, what would be your, I'm gonna say mine for last, what would be your little news tidbit for the week?
Well, for me, my biggest news tidbit has everything to do with losing the great prophetess, our White Panther.
Prophetess.
Our White Panther, Ruth Gaines Ginsburg. For those of you who are not familiar with who she is, she was the first female justice on the Supreme Court. But her story is an amazing story. Ruth Bader Ginsburg studied law alongside her husband. A lot of people don't know that. She studied law right alongside her husband. She ended up leaving Harvard to go to a school in New York and study or to finish her degree because he got a job.
Wow.
And so she gave up the prestigious title of Harvard, but she was actually top of her class. She was not permitted to practice, and she spent the bulk of her career not actually practicing in the courtroom, but training women in New York. When many of them were women of color. And so she was very, very instrumental in shaping the way the Supreme Court has interpreted the law to include all demographics, not just women. And so she's been a champion to all the people of this country, even though a lot of people had an issue with her because they viewed her as being too liberal, but anytime change is offered, it's considered liberal.
That's right.
So it's a sad day, and I jokingly call her our White Panther, but I mean that though. It's a sad day to lose such an honorable woman who stood for much. But additionally, she died on, was it Thursday or Friday?
Friday's when we received the announcement.
Friday was when the announcement came out. Friday afternoon, less than an hour after she passed, or it was announced that she passed away, there was already talk of trying to get a confirmation for the
Didn't even let a body go cold.
No respect given.
I mean, that was not a bit of. I mean, that was still warmth on her body.
No respect given, and the biggest tyranny of the situation isn't just the replacement of such a person who was saw as one of the more liberal justices. It's the idea that just last election term, when this happened with the Republican judge, they actually blockaded Barack Obama from getting his person. Actually, he had 3 different people that he offered for
stellar candidates at that.
And none of the 3 people that he offered, one of which being a moderate, if memory serves right, he was a moderate Republican. One of which being a moderate Republican. None of them got an opportunity for confirmation.
A foot or a toe.
And they held back that opportunity for him to, which was in his term, choose the next Supreme Court justice. They held it up and made it have to wait until not only after the election, but until after the inauguration of Donald J. Trump. So there's an irony here, but there's also a what's that word when people say one thing and they do another?
Hypocrisy.
That was it. There's a hypocrisy here.
You have to forgive us. We're a little older.
Yeah, we get older. But there's a major hypocrisy going on right now with this particular situation, and that's even with disregarding the fact that this woman who was an amazing American, an amazing historical figure, has not even gotten good respect.
Right.
So I think we've listened to injustices, and I could talk about, the state of Kentucky. They just declared a national emergency because they have got the grand jury together for Breonna Taylor. But the problem is you still have not arrested the perpetrators.
How you got a grand jury and you ain't got nobody
You don't have a criminal. So they've experienced an injustice. I mean, they've experienced an injustice at this point. How you get a jury for me that I ain't even got arrested yet?
What?
But
that story.
Mine is a little bit more lighter. Shirley Caesar has released a new single called "Get Your Knee Off My Neck." And Shirley did not hold. I guess you can call this the pop culture. She did not leave. She put her knee on the neck of folks and she told that off.
She did.
And she sang it. She said, "I can't
breathe."
She did it in Jesus' name.
And if I see right, she only recorded it 3 times.
Of course.
And then she walked out the studio and probably looked at them and said,
"Get your knee on my neck."
So I'm amazed. I think one of the cool things about it is seeing artists who already have a platform saying and speaking out, even in the midst of you may not get certain invitations, you may not get certain invites, but you're still willing to use your voice to be the beacon of light. I think that's the the most amazing part of what I saw. All right.
So wait, what's disheartening about that though is Shirley Caesar, who is absolutely one of our matrons at this point in the body of Christ, is willing to take a stand that many of her predecessors won't, and I think that's problematic. I think it's problematic when, to be honest, it's time for our generation and those that are immediately above us to begin to take the stance, because the generation preceding them, the ones that already marched, the ones that already went through the civil rights movement, they've already done their part.
They've done their work.
It's time for us to do our part. And to see so many, which is why I'm so proud of all of the athletes right now, who are getting booed, mind you, because people want them to shut up and play, disregarding the fact that politics and any form of entertainment have always corroborated, always.
To that point, there is a documentary on Peacock, the Peacock.
That's the free
streaming channel,
yes,
which clearly is, from
Run check.
right. But anyway, Peacock, they have a documentary about Harry Belafonte, about the 1 week where he hosted the Tonight Show.
Wow.
Johnny Carson actually went on vacation and he was asked to select. And at this point in time, Johnny Carson had really only been into his show for 6 years, so he was still new.
Wow.
He was not like number one really consistently yet. So he wanted to take a week off, and he felt that during that week, Johnny Carson had this delicate balance that he was playing as far as understanding what was happening in the world, but realizing that because of who he was, he might not be the best voice to speak to it.
Right.
But he knew he had friends who he felt could better do that, and he had one friend definitively, Harry Belafonte, who I think I can look at our generation, we can look at him and those from that generation and determine if you're going to be an artist of any kind, that's the type of model you should be. Artistry and activism go hand in hand. If you have a platform, you have a responsibility with that platform to engage the culture in every way, and not just for the purposes of making your almighty dollar. What is the point of you having this platform if you don't use it to serve someone else? But Harry Belafonte during that week talked about how he intentionally, Johnny Carson deliberately chose Harry Belafonte because they were like, well, Johnny, you could interview MLK and you could interview Robert Kennedy Jr. And this was in 1968. So please remember that Robert F. Kennedy, not Jr., but Robert F. Kennedy and Dr. King, they were both going to die that year. Months. But Dr. King definitely in a matter of weeks. They were going to die that year, but Harry Belafonte got them at the right time, at the right moment. And interviewed them, but in the interview he was very intentional about making sure, because on the Tonight Show, Johnny had set up a platform where you don't come and get your interview and then leave. Johnny was very careful about this type of engagement. So you come, you get your interview, you move down to this spot on the couch, and the next person comes in, and we're all here to support each other. So as I bring you out, you stay here to support the next person and to engage with the next person. So Harry liked that model, did the same thing. He used his platform responsibly. Now, what happened is a lot of those recordings were lost because of cost, efficacy, and efficiency. But some people found them, found a few of them, and were able to piece together. And they found that show list. And there was never a night during that week where Harry had everybody sitting on the couch was black or everybody sitting on the couch was white. The entire crowd was fully multicultural, and they were all engaging the various topics that were being talked about. So I think we have an immense history, at least from the area of arts and entertainment in this nation, where their job is to engage culture by using their voices and the various platforms that those voices provide access to actually get people to think about the topics that we would rather avoid.
And I think, and one of the things I'm kind of loving about this stage in the game, not letting it be something that you just do immediately as reactive, but it becomes a part of what you advocate for. I think every artist should have something that you advocate for, whether that be animal rights, whether that be taking care of the environment, education, whether it be something, you should have something that your platform is attributed to. And so leading to that, I think if you haven't, shameless plug, if you haven't listened to God is Justice, you should go listen to it because that's what we did. And the cool part of it is, I think we put it together before everything went crazy. And because we put it together before everything went crazy, I feel like it makes it a more powerful statement.
Absolutely.
A prophetic statement. But I think it's something that we can kind of take away. But I want to move on in our program because I'm trying to be more time savvy. Yep, I'm good on time. I like to do a segment because I think what has happened is we don't talk enough about it from a Christian standpoint that God and justice go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
It's not just something that we advocate for on February or MLK Day. This is something that should be our platform as Christians on a regular. And it's not just a black thing. It's not just white or Asian. It's a real thing that you should, when you see injustice, I didn't give you enough room.
I'm good.
Where you're not giving a place for people to advocate, you're almost dismissing a ministry gift.
Not almost, you are.
And so I think there's, and I heard Apostle Matthew Stevens say, there's a special anointing for government. And they're not called to the church.
Absolutely.
They're called to the government. If we don't house them, we can't expect them to have our standard.
Absolutely.
So I think in this dispensation, I think it's important to note that justice has to be taught in coherence. God advocates for justice. So I wanted us individually to do an activity, something nutritious, something to get a scripture that you felt like advocated for justice. I'm gonna go first because I know I know mine, and I didn't pick the easy one. I picked one a little different, and I'm gonna paraphrase because of time. Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel is taken to the valley of dry bones. I used to hear preachers preach about it all the time, and I realized what it was really talking about. Ezekiel was preaching to a people who had experienced injustice for a long time, and they was almost as if they were dead. So God took them to dry bones, and he said, "I want you to prophesy to these dry bones and bring them back together." When you get down to about the 7th verse, it says, "And I'm going to raise up an army of dry bones." So God has a message for people who have experienced injustice, and he doesn't want them just to be victims. We empathize with victims, but we don't let them stay victims.
Right.
We teach them how to advocate and fight back.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yes.
You want to go next? Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So Micah 6 and 8. And y'all know I don't like to read out loud, but I'm gonna do it. It says, "He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you except to be just, and to love." And this is amplified. And to diligently practice kindness, compassion, and walk humbly with your God. Set aside any overblown sense of importance or self-righteousness. Micah 6 and 8 amplified.
So that's something that the Lord requires of us to do.
Except to be just and to love.
So that means we're called outside of just declaration.
Absolutely.
We're called into action.
Being holy and prayerful.
Absolutely.
We just can't just pray.
So actually there's two for me. I kind of like both of them for different reasons. But the first actually piggybacks off of the Micah 6 and 8. I think I actually even mentioned that scripture last week. It's Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17. And Actually, if you read through it before you get to even that verse, it's gonna sound, especially if you were to read something like the Message Bible. A lot of the things that are, the prophets that God had, he tended to give them a list of things, tell them what's wrong, and tell them why I'm not talking to them.
Right.
I'll talk to you, and you go tell them that I said this. So why God would, be so petty? He does that to tell you, let me tell you why I'm not talking to them. And the reasons why God was silent, sort of, and not hearing things, and why he attended and intended judgment in this particular incident is because the nation itself, to whom he was speaking, Judah, believes that nation itself had become incredibly unjust and perverted in its thinking about how it's supposed to treat itself, how they treat one another. And he gets to verse 16 and he starts the mandates of how are we going to correct this. And in verse 16 he says, wash you, I read from KJV because I think it's poetic. Wash you, make you clean, put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes, cease to do evil. And then he says basically what you should do instead. Learn to do well, seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. Now, judge doesn't mean condemn. Judge means do right by them, act justly by them. So that's what happens. That's what literally, if you want to know what God's opinion of what holiness is, it's learn to do well, seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. That's the one thing there. The other one is Proverbs 21, verse 15, which simply says, it is joy to the just to do judgment, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. It's really simple. If you find in your life you have no joy in your faith walk, it may potentially be because you are not doing justly.
Absolutely. Not doing justly. So, all right, we did that. Oh, great on time. Listen. So, we've had these scriptures, and so I gave you Ezekiel 37. Read that whole chapter; it'll bless you. Read it in the Message; it'll make you shout.
Micah 6 and 8.
Micah 6 and 8.
Isaiah 1 and 17. Read that whole chapter basically, and Proverbs 21:15.
Listen. So you have all of these scriptures. We just gave you 4 scriptures that says how God advocates for justice and loves that we do each other justly. So it starts from the top down. It starts in your mind first, and then it merges out to your community. So, all right. So if you do not have the new single, go check it out. We just gave you 4 scriptures that support our context.
Can I say something?
Take your time.
I just want to say to the people, for those of you who feels that we should just turn over and pray, understand this. Prayer does not change God's hand, nor does it change his intent. Prayer changes you and your position in the matter. And so it's important that we understand that while you're praying for God to do something different, really what you ought to be praying is that God allows you to see it differently so you can do something different. And even with Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane and prayed, Father, if it be your will, take this cup from me. God did not do so. However, God did change Jesus' position on being upon the cross. So understand that when you turn over to pray about the injustices in the world, it should move you. The other thing is, every Renaissance was built on the back of artists. And we're in one right now. So it always led with the art, which promoted education. And from there, the world changed. So because of that, if you are an artist and you call yourself a believer in God, do something,
please. All right. So, yes. So if you have enjoyed this conversation, please like, please share, please tell a cousin or an auntie. Next week, I may have a very special guest, but we'll see what happens. I'm about to say something.
That's the worst whispering ever.
Because we wanted them to hear, just like in church.
Say God is trying to tell you something.
Listen, oh my God. So, all right, if you do not have a t-shirt, I want you to get you a God is Justice t-shirt. All right? All right, get you a shirt. Now, I'm going to get up because I don't have my cameraman.
Oh yeah, but also know that there's 2 T-shirts available. There's God is Justice, and there's He Will Restore. And know
'Cause we need
that
him
a
to
just
restore.
God also restores.
Oh.
We need him to
And we
restore.
bless Him.
Oh,
And restore don't mean turn it back the way it used to be. It means giving you what you need.
listen. So here you go. You want to see them? Here it is. Bow. Now y'all lean over to the sides. Now y'all look a little further, Kelly. And y'all look, there you go. And y'all looking at the shirts. Y'all looking, they got the shirts on. Y'all get your shirts. Get your shirt, cuz. Oh, let me take it because I got the banner and they can't see it all the way they need to. Look at it one more time, Cam. Look at it one more time. Look at that. Hold on. Look at it one more. Let me get. There you go. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. There it is. There it is. These are the shirts. You need to get you one. Now, I'm gonna tell you what. Really, we don't pocket none of this money. This goes to marketing. Okay, marketing and radio and all that other stuff is not cheap. It's not. It's actually more expensive than the record. Don't that sound crazy? So please go get you a shirt while you have a chance. Because there is God is justice, and there's also He will restore. All right. And you know we released that little program, didn't we? We released that little thing. We set it up on there, and we said God justice, yes He is. And you can listen how I sang it. All right. All right. And so we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. You go get it wherever you listen. All right. So we thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of God is Justice, the Conversation. And share, like, get you some chicken, fam. And we appreciate you and all of your cousins for watching. All right. See you next week. Same time, same place.
Bye.
Bye now.
That would be okay.